mean, this is supposed to be a $22,000 fine if you organise an unlawful protest in New South Wales. That should have been issued on Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday or Friday.
Not even a slap on the wrist.
Correct.
Nothing.
Like, yet the anti-lockdown people, they got that $22,000 fine.
Yep.
Remember, and I was thinking again about that two way of doing things. When Nigel Farage wanted to come out here and speak, the promoters of his ticketed event got sent a bill by the New South Wales Police because police would have to turn up to repel the counter-protests, right?
Yep.
Now, there are many things the state can do rather than just physically looking somebody in the eye, throwing people in the back of paddy wagons, to send the message about there is a way to do this and you chose to do it differently. And also, the behaviour in the first carry-on was, of course, deliberately antagonistic to the events of last weekend. Yeah. 1 week on, you can see that as we've moved from the violence of what took place last weekend to the response now, that certainly the media coverage and maybe potentially some of the emotional reaction of people while they're watching it has started to change as well. So when they jumped the gun last week in absolute rage, they ended up putting themselves 2 steps back. But as you can see, that what is starting to happen in Israel, and everyone from, God forbid, the UN, parts of the US saying, you've got a right to respond, but don't go too far. And that's where this rally was today. But that said, we're talking about it tonight because of the disgrace that was there previously. And if that goes unpunished and the police assistant commissioner says, we can't stop 1,000 people, you're telling everyone what the threshold is.
Yeah.
You're telling everyone about the two-tier system. And that's absurd.
But I mean, Liz, I think you and I might be a bit similar. I tend to be a free speech absolutist. And I've spoken previously against the idea of banning things like the swastika, not because I like it, but because I figure, well, if you can ban one form of speech, then you can ban any form of speech.
What's next? The cross, the hammer and sickle?
I really found myself this week conflicted on that principle when you've got people en masse in a public place, one of the most iconic places in the country, the Sydney Opera House, shouting "Gas the Jews," thinking to myself, generally I've said, well, free speech is free speech, but should those people be shut down? Because they're inciting violence. Well, they're calling for death, right?
Yeah, but this is what I love about freedom of speech, right? Because these people out themselves.
Yes.
I mean, in some ways, I've argued these rallies shouldn't be allowed to go ahead, given how volatile the situation is. It's still unfolding, and a government has completely failed its people when we have what is essentially foreign wars playing out in our own streets, and they do absolutely nothing about it. But this is what we're seeing here. I think if you're going to allow these rallies to continue, you sure as heck better be taking notes, because especially every single person that was there on the Monday night, I think you should be deported. I don't care if you're an Australian citizen or not. You do not get to stand in front of our national icon, which is very deliberate, that has gone all around the world, and scream, "Gas the Jews." You are not welcome here. You are not Australian. We do not subscribe to that whatsoever. You get to go now. If you're not from here, guess what? You're going back. And if you were born an Australian citizen, well, you just proved you're never going to assimilate. You do not share our values. You are not a true Australian. And we strip them of their citizenship if they leave our country and go somewhere and join the Taliban or whatever the case may be. We recognise them as treasonous
there are plenty of white Australian-born socialists who love chanting Palestine.
But would you deport them, though, Joe?
No, absolutely not. No, I would put them in jail as soon as they started.
Oh, yeah, so they can live off the taxpayer dime. Brilliant, Joe. Brilliant.
Because there are plenty of white as the driven snow, overprivileged student socialists who would be, in fact, there are actual.
None of them are screaming "Gas the Jews" en masse.
So sure. Plenty of them are screaming Palestine from the river to the sea, which is basically code
the same thing,
wiping Israel off the map.
Exactly.
But again, it's not that hard. It's not that hard to say, all right, you can, either A, you can protest because you've got a permit and you've ticked all the boxes and you've filled out all the forms and that's great. Or B, you're not really hurting anyone and yes, you do have a right to freedom of expression. Like the stuff we saw today, that's perfectly fine. Bit icky, bit off colour, but still, they're not harming anyone, so let them be free. But the minute you are actually deliberately targeting a symbol of Israel while chanting "Kill the Jews," that's
burning their flag.
nothing to do with free speech. That is pure and simple incitement to violence. It is incitement to murder. And again, it is convenient that you've got footage of these people and you can, kick ass and take names.
Well,
But
let's hope
that
they
is,
are.
That is, as
ASIO,
Ev
where are
said,
you?
there's your
ASIO,
crime
hello.
right there, officer.